Most people have a list of games they keep meaning to replay and never do. This video is going to make that list a lot harder to ignore. These 10 single-player games are so perfectly crafted that going back to them in 2026 will feel better than playing anything new. A Plague Tale: Requiem. A young girl and her sick brother, surviving a world that is actively trying to destroy them. That is the premise, and somehow it became one of the most visually stunning and emotionally brutal single-player experiences ever made. Requiem takes everything the first game did and expands it in every direction, without ever losing the intimacy that made it special. The rat swarms are so massive and so beautifully rendered that they became one of the most iconic visual achievements in modern gaming. But the visuals are not what makes this game matter. What makes it matter is Amicia and Hugo. Every stealth section, every combat encounter, every quiet moment between missions exists to deepen that bond and raise the emotional stakes of what is coming. The ending of this game hit players the way The Last of Us hit players. People still talk about it years later. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. The purest expression of From Software's design philosophy. A game that demands everything from you, gives nothing for free, and delivers the most satisfying progression system in gaming history. Sekiro is the game that separates players who want to improve from players who want to be carried. There is no summons, no co-op, no way to over-level your way past a difficult encounter. Just you, your blade, and the mechanics in front of you. Every boss is a lesson. Every defeat teaches you something specific, and the moment you finally internalize the posture system and start reading enemies the way the game wants you to, it transforms from one of the most frustrating experiences in gaming into one of the most exhilarating. God of War 2018. Santa Monica Studio took a franchise defined by spectacle and mindless combat and turned it into one of the most emotionally resonant single-player experiences ever created. A game about a father and his son that changed what people believed video games could be. The single-shot camera that never cuts away from Kratos and Atreus for the entire game is not just a technical achievement, it is a storytelling decision that makes you feel the weight of every single moment. The combat is deep and satisfying. The world building is extraordinary. The relationship between Kratos and his son builds slowly and naturally through gameplay, not just cutscenes. And the reveal about Atreus near the end of the game is one of the best moments in modern gaming history. Going back to this game in 2026, knowing everything that follows in Ragnarok, adds a layer of weight and meaning to every conversation between father and son that simply did not exist on your first playthrough. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Hideo Kojima built one of the most mechanically sophisticated open-world stealth games ever made, and wrapped it inside one of the most bizarre and emotionally complex stories in gaming history. And most people still have not fully understood what he was trying to say. The gameplay loop in Metal Gear Solid 5 is so deep and so flexible that no two playthroughs ever feel the same. The AI reacts to how you play, enemies adapt to your tactics. The freedom to approach every mission in completely different ways means a second playthrough is a genuinely different experience from your first. The story deals with identity, language, revenge, and the cycle of violence in ways that take multiple playthroughs to fully absorb. Chapter 2 is deliberately uncomfortable, and most players bounced off it. Going back in 2026 with patience and attention reveals one of the most daring narrative experiments in gaming. Resident Evil 4 Remake. Capcom rebuilt one of the most influential games ever made into something that stands completely on its own as a modern masterpiece. A relentlessly paced action horror experience that never loses its grip from the first minute to the last. The village, the castle, the island. 3 completely distinct environments, each designed to create a different feeling while maintaining the same relentless forward momentum. Leon Kennedy is one of the most likable protagonists in gaming, and the remake gives him a depth and humanity the original never quite managed. The combat is tight and satisfying. The merchant system gives you genuine agency within a completely linear structure. And Professional Mode, which unlocks after you finish the game, is one of the most rewarding challenge experiences in modern gaming for players who want to test everything they learned on their first run. This game practically begs to be replayed. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
No other game feels like this. No other game sounds like this. No other game uses the medium itself as a storytelling tool the way Ninja Theory did here. This is pure art, disguised as a video game, and it is one of the most important things ever created in this medium. The binaural audio puts voices directly inside your skull. Play this with headphones, in the dark, in one sitting. The combat is brutal and unglamorous, the puzzles are built around perception and the gap between what is real and what is not, and the ending is one of the most powerful moments in the history of gaming. Replaying Hellblade in 2026 with the full knowledge of what Senua is actually experiencing changes everything. Details you missed the first time become devastating. Moments that confused you become heartbreaking. This is the rare game that rewards a second playthrough with a completely different and much deeper understanding of everything you witnessed. Demon's Souls Remake. The game that started everything. Before Elden Ring, before Bloodborne, before Dark Souls became a cultural phenomenon, there was Demon's Souls. And the remake brought it back in a form so visually extraordinary and mechanically faithful that it stands as one of the greatest remakes ever made. Demon's Souls is where From Software's design philosophy was born. The interconnected world structure, the deliberate punishing combat, the lore told through item descriptions and environmental storytelling rather than cutscenes. The sense of a world that existed long before you arrived and will continue long after you are gone. The remake preserves every element of the original while presenting it in a visual fidelity that makes it feel completely current. Going back to Demon's Souls in 2026 is going back to where all of modern action RPG design began, and understanding where it started makes everything From Software has done since make perfect sense. Bloodborne. From Software at their most atmospheric, their most artistically ambitious, and their most uncompromising. A gothic horror nightmare set in a city collapsing under the weight of its own dark secrets, and one of the greatest action games ever made. Yharnam is one of the greatest single environments ever built in a video game. Dense, interconnected, and layered with secrets that players are still discovering years after release. The combat demands pure aggression. There is no blocking, no hiding. You attack to regain health, and you commit to every single decision you make, or you die. The boss fights are legendary. The lore rewards players who are willing to piece it together from fragments, and replaying Bloodborne in 2026 with a completely different build and a completely different weapon transforms it into a game that feels genuinely new all over again. This is the closest thing to a perfect video game that has ever been made. Red Dead Redemption 2, the greatest RPG ever made, the greatest open world ever designed, and a story so rich and so carefully constructed that most players have still not seen everything it contains even after hundreds of hours. Replaying Red Dead Redemption 2 in 2026 means making different choices, following different paths, and discovering that the world CD Projekt Red built contains things you completely missed the first time. The Next Generation update also makes this game look more stunning than ever. That is the list. 10 perfect games. No filler, no compromises. Every single one of them worth clearing your schedule for. Which one are you starting tonight? Drop it in the comments, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.